Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Boy, am I excited about today. Before I introduce you to our guest, here is a quote just for this episode. Anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. Albert Einstein. Our guest today is an innovator. Saw where a lot of things would end up going way back when they had their online website from a mentor back in the 2000s, founder of what we know today in the construction space, Asphalt Kingdom, but really he's built a kingdom of men and women that are pursuing second chances, second lives, second halves, building something from nothing. They've been a teacher for since probably the very beginning, early in on the online influence, one of the OGs, a great friend of one of our staples on the show, the real Brian Hess. Episode 82. If you haven't heard that episode back, in the beginning, first 100 episodes of the Culture Matters podcast, they've supported me and the show. And I'm excited to talk about the round table now of leaders that they've created and are stewarding. I should probably just introduce them by now, right? Judd Burdon, thanks for coming back to the Culture Matters podcast. And I'm excited to learn what has transpired since our last time together in the midst of the pandemic. That I was listening to that episode where the real estate is the book. Oh, and I say one more thing. You went through the. Really want to talk about. You overcame some adversity a couple years ago with something with a tree that, like, I want to learn from because. So I'll leave it at that. But thanks for coming back on the show.
It's awesome to be here. Always good to jam. We don't get to do it often, but when we do, it's intense and I really enjoy the time. It's especially, time is so limited in the sense of what what time actually is, right? And so taking these special moments in our life to actually do these kind of things and to reach people and hopefully give them a golden nugget or two, maybe expand their peripheral vision a little bit, is always really exciting for me. So it's fun to get a little deeper than just a surface conversation and maybe ask some hard questions and to dig a little deeper. I do. That's why I think I enjoy it, is because you ask great questions, Jay.
Thanks so much. On that note about September 22nd, 2017, I was hurt. I was in an accident, and it had an impact on who I'm becoming. You climbed some kind of tree, and then all of a sudden I'm reading a post about your skin falling off. What exactly happened, and what lesson? And would you recommend that for others, maybe if they really got to get it together, or a personal development thing, because so.
Don't eat the apples. I'll just say that. Don't eat the apples, but these are different kind of apples. So the name of the tree is a Manchineel tree. Manchineel tree. And it is the most poisonous tree on planet Earth. And it is a tree, like a legitimate tree, the size of a crabapple tree. And it is what the Arawak Indians and the Caribs used to dip their arrowheads in to essentially kill whatever it is that they were going to shoot. And yeah. And so, of course, you eat the apple, and if the apple goes which is interesting, right? If you think back to the beginning of time, the apple. Um, so, so if you eat the apple, it will literally
Hmm.
burn the inside of you and potentially kill you, right? If you don't get medical treatment immediately. Well, I didn't eat the apple, and I know what the Manchineel tree is because about 20 years ago, my grandmother was visiting and she brought a whole bowl of apples, Manchineel fruit, not knowing what they were, and she wanted to bake an apple pie, and so she had them in a bowl, and just as she was going to actually grab one and take a little bite out of it, I said, "Don't eat the apple." This is my grandma. My mother was there. So anyway, long story short is I knew what the tree was, but it was Father's Day, and it was 2022, I guess it was 2022, and I was down at a beach doing like a beachside barbecue and cooking burgers, and there with a bunch of other fathers and their sons, and it's in Catoosh Valley in Anguilla, small little island I live in the middle of the Atlantic, 15 miles long by 2 miles wide. And we're in the Catoosh Valley. And there's these walking paths that are all quite tight. And you get walking up in there, and there's a big cave up in the end of the valley. And my son said, "Dad, let's run ahead and let's scare everyone and pretend we're a monkey in the trees." And I had no shirt on and I had just a bathing suit on. And I said, "No, son, don't climb the tree. I'll climb the tree."
Oh my God.
And so I climbed the tree. And as I climbed the tree, I went up, 4 or 5 branches, and I looked down, not paying any attention to the tree I was climbing. I looked down and I was wrapped around the tree with my arm. And I looked down, there's this white sap on me, not thinking about it. So I just wiped it off, wiped it off, like not thinking anything about it. Climbed down the tree after pretending I was the monkey in the tree for Kai, my son, and the adults were coming up and they laughed. Well, we went back to the beach, and of course, on the way back to the beach, I had to take a leak. So my hands with the sap on it, take a leak, and now I'm walking back, get back to the house. Uh, at that time, I used to drink alcohol at that time, so had a few beers at the beach and got back to the house. Didn't even shower, just went straight to bed. We were beat and laid
Oh,
down and woke up in the morning with this feeling of numbness in my armpits. And I went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and there was these massive water bubbles that were both armpits where my skin had basically peeled off from, not peeled off yet, but it was bubbled away from my muscle and my flesh. And so filled with this yellowish water. And then of course, the only way to drain it is by piercing it. And so you pierce it. Well, anyway, the Manchineel sap is like battery acid in all sense of the word, right? And so it literally ate into my dermis, my epidermis, dermis, right into the actual fatty tissue and the muscle, and was melting it. And it did that for about 4 days. And I was in a fetal position, screaming in bed upstairs because we were still renovating the place, upstairs in the 2-bedroom unit. And my children and my wife stayed downstairs while I was in excruciating pain. I was eating the codeine, or not the codeine, but the painkiller meds, which I
yeah.
never take, eating those things like chiclets, trying to just get rid of this pain. And then doctors couldn't do anything. There was absolutely nothing that they can do other than be careful of the infection, basically, but you're going to have to go through this pain. And they wouldn't keep me in the hospital on morphine or anything like that. It was just like, go through this, Judd. And so I soon learned that the historical pain that I felt prior to this event was a pain that I only understood prior to this. And I now started to experience a feeling that was a lot more intense than I'd ever felt in my life, at a level that was probably, 100 times. I can't even put a multiplier on it, but I felt like I was burning alive in bed for 4 days. And then of course, it stops burning the acid after scrubbing the acid with loofah sponges and trying to get the rotten flesh off of you, like a burn victim. The doctor said that you need to go in the ocean to soak for salt sea soaks. And at that point, it was also not just my armpits, right? It had traveled down into under the whole area. And you couldn't use the bathroom, you couldn't
Oh,
pee, you couldn't shit. It was like legitimately, unbelievably excruciating. You couldn't sit on the toilet. Um, you couldn't you couldn't really walk. You couldn't put your arms would have to be like this all the time in bed, and your muscles start to cramp and ache. So you're going through this whole thing, and of course it's now going on for a week, and then you're going into the second week, right? 14 days of this, and I can't work, I can't hug my kids, I can't really do anything other than them seeing this guy, me, who's laying there. And it came to a point where I got infection. So I started getting staph infection in both armpits, and it started to smell like a rotting carcass. And ended up in the hospital, rushed to the hospital on EKG and morphine. And they basically put me on everything that they could. And then I was on the phone with my uncle, head of cardiology at Stanford University, Tom Burdon, and we're talking about medevac, like, get me out of here, man, get me to a burn center in Barbados. Like, we were talking about flying me out, and I didn't fly out. I chose not to fly out. I said, just clean it all up, dress it. And they said that I had to go for these sea soaks. Let me just tell you, man, like, when you go into the ocean with complete open flesh, your armpits are okay. Like, it sucks, overwhelming pain, but the other areas, if you think like going down to the beach, you get some chafing, like when you're at a beach, you get a little chafe or something, and you put the water on and you get a little burn. Well, I'm just telling you right now, like, this is not the same. This is completely different. I'm smiling about it right now, but I wasn't smiling about this after my 30th day dealing with it. You saw the pictures, man, I'm sure, on Facebook. Did you see the photos?
yeah.
It was unbelievably painful. It took about 6 weeks to the point where I could finally actually be outside, because the scabs wouldn't hold, and you had to shower and use this antibacterial soap, and that sucked. And then the sea soaks twice a day. Basically a burn victim, right? That's what it is. And I started to think about, during these times, to rewind back to when I was feeling the pain, I would put music on my iPhone that was this drum beat, like just this drum beat that was this rhythm that it gave to do, and then some flutes in the background, and like just really calm birds and chiming, and some waterfalls and drips of water. And I would bring myself to a place of peace. And I learned how to convert the burning sensation into muscle tightness, like it just like, oh, I've got a tightness in my skin. And so it took me quite a bit of time during the first 2 weeks to figure out how to change the way that I felt, which was in my mind. Burning, I knew burning because I had been burned before, like on a barbecue or something hot, or I'm in the asphalt business, so when I used to lay asphalt, I've been burned. And so I was able to take the burning feeling to then change it to muscle tightness, and that helped me a lot with the music and those kind of things. But I think what I learned the most from that experience was that we see, feel, know, hear, smell, touch, all of the things that we are gifted with, the senses, as much as what we've come from to where we are in the ultimate present. But when something happens that's such an emotional impact and a feeling that is so intense that you experience, I think the peripheral vision of that sensation is expanded on dramatically. And so now I know pain at that level. Now, if you cut off both my arms and both my legs at this very moment, I'd probably feel something that is even more than what I felt. You would, I am assuming. And so when we feel pain right now and what we've been through in our life to where we are, maybe perspective, right? It could be perspective. It's like, oh, I'm having a bad day today. I've got a tummy ache or something like that. And it's like, let's maybe just take a breath in this moment, and let's realize that everything's not just coming to an end in this moment, you know, like let's know that let's hope that nothing worse happens, but know that there's always potentially more than what you may feel today. And I think that can be reflected on in both in pain and spirituality. You know, you and I had a discussion earlier. It's like, wow, that meter just went, I felt that way more intensely than I've ever felt my whole entire life. And wow, that exists.
Oh.
I feel even more human now, man. Like, wow.
Hmm.
So I now through that experience, in that one experience, I just think that the paint tray now has some additional colors in it and some different textures to the paint than what I had before that I get to now paint with.
Hmm. Wow. What comes up when you think of Theo not climbing up it and you doing it?
Yeah, it was Kai, and I actually didn't
Oh,
think
Kai.
about it. Yeah, he's 9 now, so he would have been 7. I didn't really think about it until I actually just told the story again, and of course,
That's what I
of
saw then.
course,
It was like,
yeah, right
oh.
away. Yeah, right. Thank goodness it was me. Right?
Yeah, that seems like divine intervention.
Divine intervention. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I
another
mean,
thing to add.
business and all this stuff really doesn't matter much when you think about a story like that.
No, it really doesn't.
How
It's
do,
in the
how does
book.
a kid get through that? I don't think you don't have a kid after that if they survive. You have something else. Like, thank God.
Imagine imagine I would have rubbed my eyes.
Oh,
Like you know what I mean? Like you rub your eyes with your fingers. I had it
all
on
the
my
time.
hands, and all of a sudden I wake up in the morning and I've got no eyes. Right? Life. Wow. Like one day you wake up and it's everything's absolutely normal, and you go into it, and the next minute you're blind, or you're laying up for 6 weeks completely burnt, or whatever you might go through. And I know that people watching right now, I know for sure everybody's got their where they come from, right? And they've gone through, I'm sure everybody's gone through what they call pain and different intensity levels. I can't feel your pain, but I can hear the story that you can tell me, and I'll share my story. But the actual way that you feel, I don't know that I could feel what Kai would have felt if he would have climbed that tree, but I can assume that it would have been really shitty and hard. Yeah.
So, asphalt.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
there's no clean transition to that.
Right.
Um, Have you shared that story with the kingdom?
All right. Not that story as much, but Theo's story with some of the people that I'm closest with in the kingdom. I I've also shared the Manchineel story with people that I'm closest with, but it's not like a public broadcast. I think the reason why I share it, I guess I just shared it, right? But the experiences that we go through, if we do not share them, how can it help to open up the
Mm,
opportunity for other people to learn from a story that could be an emotional impact that could change potentially the direction of their life, possibly? So I think we go through the things that we go through in life, which is coming back to our story earlier, so that we go through it so that we can actually grow and help
mm.
others grow.
I just don't want you to get me sued by tree house people or something. You know, like so some kind of tree
No,
hobbyists are coming after the show now. You know, this guy, all the people that'll never go, oh, is that a man should tree? I don't care. Don't go near it. Right? Like that's so.
in today's world, you never know.
Have you ever thought of like about how you stopped your was that your grandma you said that almost ate the apple?
Yeah, yeah. We've talked about it with the family all the time. Like,
That's
even before this happened to me, and I called my mother, I said, Mom, guess what? I told my grandmother, I said, Grandma, guess what? I said, I didn't eat it, but I climbed it and I literally loved it. Like, whoa, dude, this is crazy. And you know what's wild is that I knew what a Manchineel tree was. I was just not paying attention to the fact that it was the Manchineel tree,
hmm.
right? Which is another lesson, right? Be aware what you've learned and understand, you should be as aware as you possibly can be, because there could be danger lurking ahead of you that you may already know how to prevent it or to avoid it.
Well, yeah, what business lesson is in that, right? Paying attention.
Yeah. I mean, it happens in our day every day, right? Every
Mm.
day. It's like, culture in a company. I mean, it's what you teach, right?
Doing the
It's
best I
like
can.
you do a phenomenal job at it. I love it. I love the shares that you do. And what I will say is this, man, like, I think we all know that great culture is attractive and magnetic, not only for the people within your organization, but attractive to everybody else outside of that. And it's magnetic. But maybe you start your day out and you've somebody pissed in your cornflakes, and all of a sudden you go on a path of destruction, and that culture, to break that culture is it can take seconds to destruct, not to destruct, but to really impact it, possibly destroy it, but seconds to do it. But it takes a lifetime to build it, like to really,
Mm.
I shouldn't say to build it. Yeah, I guess it is build, but to nurture and protect it, to continue to invest in it.
Mm.
So I think that's something that a lot of companies, you have leaders in companies that just unfortunately don't stay true to their core values and to practice uh, the culture with maybe surrendering their ego and checking the ego at the door, and taking the time that they need for themselves to really understand what's going on in their personal life, potentially to not bring that um, into an organization or a family where that breaks. You see
Mm.
fathers that go to, you know go out to bars, and they go and drink with their friends, and they're cheating on their wives or whatever it is, and then they come back to the family, and they know, they know that's the Manchineel tree. They're about to climb the Manchineel tree, but they still go and do it repetitively. Well, I can tell you, bro, I will. I hope to never climb another Manchineel tree again, and I will do everything in my power to be more aware as I'm navigating my paths to not burn myself in those moments, if you know.
Hmm.
Yeah. So does that make sense in business? I don't know.
You know what? It made me just think of we don't. I don't want to be the Manchineel tree in my culture.
Yeah.
My people want to, and then the closer, now they're burnt. It's a good metaphor.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you see the background, right? That's,
Yeah. What for those that are not aware yet of Asphalt Kingdom and AK Roundtable, what uh what are they and how can people that are listening potentially get involved?
so 21 years ago, we celebrated our 21st business anniversary in December, which was
Wow.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Thank you. It is cool. I mean, to think about the stats of businesses and how long they last, and in in today's world, the stats are pretty
Yeah, it's over
admirable.
15,000 days.
Yeah, it's wild, right? Yeah, isn't that wild? And so when we first started the business, or when I first started the business, because I was alone, I was listening to this song that was Eighth Mile Lose Yourself from Eminem, which was you got one shot, one opportunity, don't let it go. And I had come out of actually seal coating and I built asphaltkingdom.com, and I had no idea whether it would work or not. On our last podcast, we actually spoke about that journey a little bit, I believe, at the beginning of that. Sammer, and remember we went through that and started the business. So for those of you that
Yeah.
want to listen to the entry, I won't go through all that again. But what I will say is this: that the company originally was a real transactional company, just selling equipment and supplies for margin, and there was no real emotion with it. There was no feeling inside the business. There was no real culture in what it is that we were doing. I hadn't learned about that yet. Um, I knew how to build relationships, but I was very young, and so you only know what you know, what you've read, what you've learned, what you've been taught, what you've been exposed to, and so it was a very transactional business because it was e-commerce, man, drop shipping. Like how how much culture can you build in an e-commerce company? I mean, shit, we buy a crack repair machine from a manufacturer and we mark it up 40% and we drop ship it. They drop ship it for you. Culture in a company like that? Come on. In my mind, that time.
Hmm.
Man, has that ever changed? And so time went on, and we started to get the stories that would come back to us and start saying, you know, and it was about 15 years into it, like into this journey where it was really moving from a transactional, non-emotional, small company. We were small at that point. We were only four or five people for 15 years.
Wow.
And then 6 years ago, there was this trigger. That was the message with Theo when my son had cardiovascular and respiratory failure over in St. Martin, and he died in front of us. And I prayed in the mirror in a bathroom and went back to the room, and he was alive on the table. And I prayed to God, and the message back to me was, you have to help as many people as you possibly can in this lifetime. If it can just be one message in the moments that you share to somebody that's listening, to reflect on that, Judd, you need to go back and do something different with Asphalt Kingdom, in my head. And so we we started to really work on getting people on freestyle jams on YouTube talking about their success, speaking about their journey with Asphalt Kingdom over the last decade, some decade and a half, and getting those stories to share. And I would say this is a golden nugget: success attracts success, 100%. So when you're evaluating your circle, are you putting successful people? And when I say successful, I'm not talking about rich people, like with fiat. I'm talking about all of it. Successful people that actually are living a fantastic life, right? Family, love, God-fearing, if you want to say that, but like something that you are looking up to work towards being the best you. Are you surrounding yourself with people like that? Or are you going to the bars and cheating on your wife? And so it came to a point where that success that attracts success started to attract other people that were interested in being surrounded by successful people. And then we started the AK Roundtable, which was just an idea. Just an idea. Hey, if we every Wednesday at 7 p.m. every week for the rest of our business life here doing this, AK Roundtable, if we did that every week and made it free, would we have more people coming in to hear more success stories and to learn and to have that drumbeat that allows them to have something to look forward to every week, rather than the other stuff that might go on in their life, but to surround themselves in a Zoom room with a bunch of people that are cheering for, I want to grow, I want to build this life, I want to be a good man, I want to be a good woman, I want to be a great mom, great dad, I want to do this. But yet it's just asphalt. Like, we went from being an equipment and supply asphalt supplier to creating a community that has a drumbeat to help people actually, but to explore what it's like to be happy, to feel love in an industry that doesn't have a lot of it. And I think that was the turning point, was that lesson from Theo to the roundtable, which is that Wednesday Zoom meeting that then transformed into a community of 3,200 people now. That's moving up 200 people a week, 300 people a week. Our YouTube channel is growing by 1,000 a day. It's 1,000 subscribers a day right now. And it's going into the roofing area. It's going to landscaping. We've got some pretty interesting things taking place. And so that's the roundtable community, but we call it the Asphalt Kingdom, right? Like, the Asphalt Kingdom is a place where it's like a moat. You can come in, you can be safe here. We're going to give you the resources. We're going to give you the tools. We're going to give you free tools, free sales scripts, access to the AK Vault. My last 20 years poured into a Google Drive back end that has all the different folders that you need to execute on. It's like a free franchise solution where we just give it to you, like legitimately give it to you. Because I really don't want to have to sit around buying people's business. I want to earn I don't want to drop that word, but I want to earn the F out of their business and that exchange of value. I want to give so much to them without the intent being money, but instead of having it be the purity of intent, which is really to help people be as successful as they possibly can. And so if I can do that, then I stay true to my mission that I committed to in the mirror that day when I prayed to God and Theo came alive.
Does that feel like the first half?
Pretty much, right? It's like, it's part of it, right? All of these stories, these journeys are in there. The first half is a book that I've been writing for the last 2 years. I've been doing it with a lady named Kristen, who's just an awesome woman, good friend. And I spend time not on Zoom or on the phone, but actually in person, where we're sitting down and spending, 90 minutes at a time together and just really, really engaging. She asks some incredible questions. She's a great writer. But the stories and the journey that I've been through from the time that I remember, literally all the way back to the time that I remember, until 44 years of life right now. I hope to live past 88. I really do. I hope to live past April 16th, 2024 at 5:05 p.m., which it is right now, right? But like the book is called First Half, which in a sense, that means that I'm thinking in my head that I'm going to die at 88, which is kind of odd now that I'm speaking about it. But how much time do we all have left to live? Like I think about my son, Justin, he's 24 years old. He's not even, according to that number of years, he's not even a third, right?
Yeah.
And like my son, Theo, who's 6, I mean, that's 82 years away.
Wow.
And so to put that into perspective, it's like, I don't know how much time we each have left to live. I do know that we're going to die. So I think we should try to feel as alive as we possibly can while we're alive. That's what I'm trying to do with the Asphalt Kingdom. It happens to be asphalt that we speak through that channel, but I know it's gonna start to get beyond asphalt. I mean, it already has. We host retreats down here in Anguilla, and people are coming down who are not in the asphalt industry, and we spend 5 days pretty intensely.
What's your word for 2023?
2023?
Yeah.
2023. Growth. Growth. I stopped drinking in the beginning of 2023, just before that. Yeah, growth. Yeah. Drinking was holding me back quite a bit. Alcohol was definitely something that was very dangerous for me. Very, very dangerous. Yeah.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Someone listening that they may not want to drink right now in that season. What do you tell them?
If they don't want to drink for just a short period of time, like just take
Or
some time off, you mean?
Maybe they just were at all. I don't know.
I would say for me, in my case, when I would drink, I would become, I grew up in a family of alcoholics. So it's like, you hear that story. Oh, I grew up in a family of alcoholics and I decided to stop drinking. But that's not why I stopped drinking, was because I had a family of alcoholics. I stopped drinking because I wouldn't be able to live the life that I wanted to live, to leave legacy behind for my sons and for them to remember me as that guy that was the guy who stopped drinking, the guy that went and worked out, and the guy that took care of himself physically and mentally and emotionally, that built a business to help people. That I think that's alcohol for me would have swayed me off the rails from actually becoming or continuing to build who I wanted to be. I think we build to the day we die, personally, but like that would not be. It would almost pull me backwards in a sense from growth. I'd prefer to have a sober mind to focus on learning and to develop and to experience the things that I'm experiencing. This is really a cool spot for me, by the way. This is really fun. Thank you, because what we spoke about earlier, this is like getting to a spot where I'm like, this is making sense now. Maybe we'll do another episode about that whole thing in the future.
We'll loop it up.
Cool.
We'll loop it up.
Yeah.
I really want to thank you for coming back. I'm excited for part 3. If you're listening to this, I challenge you to follow Judd, engage with his community, and to listen from the beginning again for some perspective. And don't hold it against me for my earlier math mistake, because it's like 665 days. I don't know why I thought you said 41. And I was like, oh, that was wrong. That's been bothering me for about 20 minutes. Since it's recorded, and I'm insecure. Got to bring that up too, because 21 and 365. Stupid. That's the inner child right now. Hey, accountability.
Right.
Judd, I
Love
really
it.
love you, buddy. I'm glad you came on today. And damn, I'm going to re-listen to this one. Follow Judd. Please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast, and we will see you next time on the Culture Matters podcast.